Listen, you just can't make this stuff up. This low hanging fruit is on such a next level of cringe that I just could not resist.
Oh, who in chat knows what astroturfing is? Anyone know that term? This is pretty common. As we all know, the right has a lot more money than the left does on average.
Wait, is that true?
And
Hold on. Well, judging by these metrics, that actually isn't true, but okay.
because the right are, to a fault, talentless, insincere, inhuman monsters, they have a really difficult.
Listen, we got him. We got him. We have a completely brainwashed NPC, okay? These kinds of people, listen, when people say things like this, like, all Democrats are evil or all Republicans are have no morals and talentless, and I immediately assume that they're mentally ill, okay? I immediately assume that they just finished drinking a 2 liter of carbonated sugar water and they're on like 3 different medications and they're just not mentally stable, okay? They're just like brainwashed political ideologues. That's what I assume.
Time producing cultural value that pulls people over. This is why basically all art is made, at the very least, by liberals and often by progressive.
That's kind of true. I mean, the stereotype that people who are more left-leaning tend to be more artistic and creative. That is kind of true. I can't really say anything against that.
Because they have souls and conservatives don't.
Okay.
But, that doesn't mean I'm generalizing a bit. Obviously there are some conservatives with artistic talent, but it is a very, very strong bias towards the left. So that means that if conservatives want to assert any kind of cultural influence, they usually have to do it through astroturfing. That's basically when you substitute authentic grassroots support for any piece of art or anything really with money from the top, and you pretend that it's just this big wave. So this guy, out of nowhere, just popped into existence and has been promoted by basically every far-right account on Twitter and conservatives broadly. This is because there were prior deals established. There was money traded behind the scenes. This was not just a random singer. This is an industry plant. It's not exactly new, and conservatives aren't the only ones who do it. But
Well, okay, this guy is saying a lot. Let's assume that that is true. It's being astroturf, that there's something behind the scenes that is pushing this guy, which it's possible that it might be true. So there's 2 questions we need to ask. What is being promoted and who is promoting it, right? So the who, some thing behind the scenes promoting it that's got money, okay? That's the who. Let's assume that. And then what is being promoted? Well, it's this guy and his song. Then we got to look at what's in the song. I mean, basically the song is the rich don't care about you, the elites don't care about you. Times are tough, and wish that we could go back to the better days. It's pretty benign. It's pretty mild, and it's kind of a universal thing that's supposed to. That is resonating with people all across the spectrum. It's not supposed to be right or left, but I mean, with people like this, I mean, this guy, that's what they want. Everything is like right, left. It's black, white, and they're just like brainwashed NPCs, basically. Um, but let's assume the astroturfing is true. I mean, at the end of the day, does it really matter who is doing it if the message that's being promoted is positive? I don't really know. I'm kind of in between. Like the idea that something is being pushed artificially and not organically by some sort of shadowy institution behind the scenes is unsettling, and I don't like that idea. Nobody likes that idea, really. But when it boils down to it, we just see like, okay, this song like a horrible thing that people should not hear from all different walks of life and all across the political spectrum? Is this such a bad? Is it a bad song? Is what he's saying bad? Is what he's saying not true? Let's ask that question. Is what he's saying not actually true? Well, then, if we answer all these questions, really, I suppose it doesn't really matter who's pushing it, because that's only we're assuming if it's true. What if it's not true? What if this guy? What if it happened organically and it was just another phenomena where somebody just kind of just blows up out of nowhere? I don't know. It's not something that's super important to me. I don't really care, but I feel like those are some questions that we need to ask.
look at that. We found the lyrics. Crazy. Living in the new world with an old soul. All right, cringe, right? But
Hold on. What exactly is cringe about that saying? Living in a new world with an old soul. Not entirely sure. Maybe the progressive types like this guy. Anybody who looks back in the past and sees that things were a little bit better I guess is cringe because being progressive, everything in the future is always better. So I don't know. It's just kind of a silly thing to say, I think.
Anyway, these rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Want to know what you think, want to know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end because of the rich men north of Richmond. Richmond was the Confederate capital.
Oh my God! I knew it. I absolutely knew it. Of course, this guy was going to bring up the Confederacy. How stupid of me! I should have known.
This is Confederate apology or Confederate. I don't know. Eulogizing?
Oh my God!
It's the Confederacy.
It's the Confederacy. It's the Confederacy. Okay, if you're in the South and you're bad mouthing the government, it's the Confederacy. Because if I didn't paint it in this kind of light to where you're like a Confederate sympathizer, like a neo-Confederate, I can't imply that you're a racist and bigoted and just like a terrible person, right? I need to insert this into my narrative because if it's not about the Confederacy, then it's only about the song, and if it's only about the song, then it stands on its own merit, and there's nothing to actually bitch about, and nothing to actually to be able to use to paint conservatives or people on the right as being crazy right-wing Confederate sympathizing bigots.
Is those damn Yanks north of the Mason-Dixon.
Listen, dummy. North of Richmond is Washington, D.C. That's the federal government. That is the political hub of the federal government. And he's not talking about Confederates. He's not talking about Yankees. He's talking about these people. That's who he's talking about. And let's see. Okay, let's actually look. Let's see where this guy lives. Farmville, Virginia. Okay, there it is. Zoom out a little bit. Oh, would you look at that? Wow, Richmond is actually, it looks like it's pretty close. That looks like it's pretty close. How far away is this actually? Richmond, Virginia to Farmville. Okay, come on, tell me how far it is. About an hour away. About an hour away. This guy lives about an hour away. He's basically in Richmond. Basically in Richmond. This is where he lives. This is the capital of his state. He's saying rich men north of Richmond. Who would that be? Oh no. Oh, it'd be, oh goodness gracious, it'd be Washington D.C. That's so crazy. But no. That would be dumb because, if it's just that, then that would be silly. He's obviously a Confederate sympathizer. It's a dog whistle to the olden days in the Confederacy where Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. Yes, that is true. And then Washington, D.C. was still the capital of the Union. But guess what? Washington, D.C. still exists, and Richmond still exists. And Richmond is the capital of Virginia, and D.C. is the political capital of the country. And that's what people have an issue with, is the politicians at our capital, in Congress, and in the Senate who are running the country. He's talking about the politicians, the elites, the people that are not, they're doing some things. Let me just put it that way. They're doing some things. People are not happy about it, and they're starting to basically wake up to it. And this song is as simple and basic as it is. People resonate with it, and they're starting to think about it. They're being more exposed to this type of thing. But it's funny that it's funny, and it's not surprising at all that people like this, these dogmatic political ideologues, these political zealots who are like on one side, that's your team. Your team are the good guys, and the other team are the bad guys, right? It's like the meme of us going into the Middle East, and we're like, hey, we're the good guys. We're doing all these good things. Everyone else is bad. And then we kind of find out the truth of why we went in, what we actually did, and what these people were fighting for. Whether we believe it was right or wrong, there was an actual reason. But the brainwashing and the cognitive dissonance that we all had, some of us maybe, of we're the good guys, we're bringing democracy and freedom, but we don't actually know what is going on. This is the same type of thing, right? This is the same exact type of thing.
want to control us, which is funny because the Civil War was fought over the men south of Richmond literally wanting to control people, own people. Yeah, it's exactly. It's a yearning for the good old days.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yearning for the good old days. I'm sure he's implying that it's a yearning for slavery, right? It's a yearning for the Confederacy, and it's a dog whistle for the how just ridiculous can you be? How so just out of touch and just brainwashed and ignorant and naive do you have to be to say these kinds of things? I will say maybe there is a chance that that's what it is. I've looked through this guy's videos and his playlist. I haven't seen anything to even suggest that he has some kind of sympathy towards the Confederacy or an obsession or an interest to the Confederacy. I haven't seen it. Maybe someone else has. If you've seen it, put it down in the comments. Let me know. I'm always open to being corrected and learning the truth. But from what I've seen, that's not what I've seen. It's just a song that this guy wrote and he played, and people like it. And for some reason, goofballs like this guy, they immediately tie it to the Confederacy. Not surprising, but still funny.
But I find it particularly insincere that it literally, like one line after the other, it's those damn Northerners, those damn Unionists want to control people. Like it's a joke, This is one of the reasons why you have to be a little more, I guess, like skeptical of anti-rich talking points. Because here's the truth, folks. Basically, everyone hates the rich. Like, the only people who aren't rich, who don't hate the rich, are like weirdo neoliberal fiscal policy wonks and libertarians who think they'll be rich one day. It's basically human nature to hate the people above you because they're living it up and you're not.
I'd say that's pretty true. The way he said it, I don't completely agree with. For me personally, I don't have anything against anyone who just happens to be rich. What I do have a problem with is when rich people gain so much wealth and influence, they use that to just for personal gain. They use it against you for your best interest, and they're being dickheads, basically. Like, you use their wealth and power to basically do whatever they want. That's what I have an issue with. Like, some guy who, he's a millionaire and he has a business and he keeps to himself and he has a nice house and a boat or whatever. Whatever. That's fine. That's what America was built on, right? The American dream. You can get rich and do whatever you want. And then, okay, that's cool. But the big corporations, the heavily active elites, political elites who use that as a political cudgel, that's what people have a problem with. And that is what I believe this guy is saying in this song. Like the rich men north of Richmond. Who are that? They're in D.C. Who's in D.C.? The politicians. Most of the politicians, they go in, they make this much money a year, and after they're there for a couple years, they're all millionaires. It's like, oh, I wonder why that would be. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then they have all their influences and their networks and their political, their political networks and stuff, and they can do whatever they want. This is what people have an issue with. I don't think every person just looks at someone who's rich and is like, I hate that guy. I hate that guy. I'm sure we've all known someone who would be like, quote unquote, rich, right? It's subjective. What's rich? 100,000, 200,000 a year, 500, a million? Who knows? Who cares? But anyways, that's the point.
I'm pretty sure this guy owns a large farm. Oh, of course. Well, if he wasn't rich before, he is now because of all the money that he made being astroturfed, for sure. Everyone hates the rich. You have to know why people hate the rich. You have to understand what it is they're saying. Because apparently now Rich Vosh, he's referring to D.C. D.C. is north of Richmond, yeah. But Richmond was the Confederate capital.
It's got to be the Confederacy. It has to be the Confederacy. This guy cannot just be talking about the political elites in Washington, D.C. He said Richmond. That means it has to be, a dog whistle to the Confederacy. It has to be, because it fits my narrative, and that's what I want it to be. So that's what it is.
D.C. was where the Union government was stationed.
The Union
And
government.
Richmond was where the Confederate capital.
That's where it's still stationed, dipshit. That's where it still is. And Richmond is still the capital of Virginia.
Capital was stationed. It's a Southern country song where he's talking about how he's like pining for the olden days, and how the men north of the Confederate capital, the Confederacy being known as the South, so north is the come on, guys, this is not subtle. This is barely even a dog whistle. Richmond is still the capital of Virginia. Yes, and it was also the capital of the Confederacy once Virginia seceded. Wait, really? Is this actually guys, you know that the American South and the country music.
He's becoming incredulous because people in his chat are calling him out on these really, really stupid takes. Or this really, really stupid take. And he's confused about it. So he's got to double down. Like, guys, it's literally about the Confederacy. Like, if you're in the South and you're singing about these types of things, and if you use the word Richmond, okay, if you're using about the word Richmond, and in the same, in the same song, you're also talking about Washington, D.C., you have to be a Confederate sympathizer. Guys, listen, that's what it is, okay? That's exactly what it is.
It produces is like full of Confederate apologia, right? This isn't like a dog whistle, okay? You can literally just drive through the South and find a shit ton of Confederate flags everywhere.
He's not wrong. I mean, he's not. This is just a fact. Like, there are still Confederate flags all over the South. Yes, in music, there are people who kind of sympathize with the Confederacy because just depending on your upbringing, and I suppose, you hold on to the heritage and the history of it, because ultimately what we know is slavery bad, okay? We can establish that right off the bat. Slavery bad. But we also know that if we look into it, the whole Civil War, and this is still something that's, a contention of debate, but there were multiple reasons why the South did that. And it wasn't just for slavery. This is just the truth. Now you can say, "Oh my God, it's a dog whistle. You don't think slavery is bad. You love the Confederate." No, I don't. No, I think slavery was a terrible thing, and we moved on past that. But the South, if you look into it, they did have some legitimate grievances, and some people hold on to the whole states' rights, northern aggression kind of thing, and then some really messed up people are actually cool with the slavery stuff and all that kind of silly nonsense. But that is the way it is. So he's actually not wrong about that. What he's doing is he's like going 200 miles an hour into just a ridiculous assumption with a correlation between Richmond being the capital of the Confederacy and then Washington, D.C. being the capital of the Union. Therefore, because he lives in the South and he's singing about Richmond and D.C., it's a dog whistle to the Confederacy. Absolutely stupid. Like the most just brainwashed NPC bot take I've heard in a long time. Anyways, you guys, I think I'm going to cut it right here. This video is pretty long. I tried to make my cuts in a way to where I was trying to minimize, not taking them out of context. And if you think that I said something wrong or you have something to add, just, put down a comment, let me know. I'm always open to that. But I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you peasants later.